its own look.
Your one constant is sort of your DP. It's your director of photography.
Come around to here for Nina's POV of Paul. Okay.
I think our DP, Paul Summers, does such a cool job with setting up the shots and, you know, really setting a mood.
That look, the glows, the nights, the shadows, all of those things that create our weekly look and stay consistent is our DP.
Paul Summers is one of our perfect hires. He is so cool and so smart and works harder than anybody I've ever seen. And his stuff looks incredible.
He's gold to the show.
Now that needs to go back where it was.
When I went into the initial meeting with Kevin Williamson, one of the first things out of his mouth was, make it darker. Now, as a cameraman, I cannot tell you how many times I've heard that. And usually when they say make it darker, I turn in footage and I get the, that wasn't what we meant by darker. What they meant was turn off all the lights except the ones on the actors. On this show, for the first 2 or 3 weeks of shooting, I went to what I consider dark. And I'm a pretty dark cameraman. And they kept saying darker, and they kept saying darker.
I can't tell you how many times I tell Paul Summers, darker, darker, turn that light off, go darker.
Marcos, when we're on set together, half the time, you know, that's what comes out of his mouth all day long. It's darker, 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 darker. And I finally just stopped lighting the actors. I just lit the backgrounds. And I got the response back perfect. I don't know, it's probably broken me to do any other show because nobody else would let me do this. I'm having so much fun.
I knew that the pilot was going to shoot in Vancouver, but from there, we didn't really know where we were going to end up.
When we heard that the studio wanted us to relocate the series to Atlanta, a lot of us were skeptical about that.
Kevin Williamson was like, how do you feel about Atlanta? And I was like, I don't know, I've never been, why?
Originally, it was due to the fact that Vancouver was getting so much rain. And then we get to Atlanta, where it rained every week.
I remember in the summer it being 3 a.m. and the air conditioning not working very well and it being very hot on the stages.
Then what they didn't say was that hot Atlanta turns into cold Atlanta in the winter. And my wardrobe was only short shorts and tank tops, so I had to go out shopping.
Shooting in Georgia has absolutely helped create the aesthetic for the show and one that's more true to what it was intended to be.
I think they've been able to really set a great sort of landscape for the show.
Vancouver is tough to make look like Virginia.
There's locations in Georgia that we would never have found in Vancouver, that we'd never have found in a foreign country.
You can't really get that southern, post-Civil War-esque vibe in Vancouver.
Cheating the Pacific Northwest for the South would be difficult.
What Vancouver doesn't have is the history.
The storylines that we need to support visually work better here than I think they would have worked in Vancouver.
Just by the very fact that we're in Atlanta, we have the ability to do wider shots. We have the ability to really enjoy the environment and showcase the environment as opposed to having to hide the environment. Here, I feel like we can show whatever we want to.
I honestly believe, not just, you know, aesthetics, not just sort of the locations, but I just think it would be a different show. I don't think we'd be as focused.
The only thing we have in Atlanta is each other and the work.
Being here in Atlanta, kind of live in a bubble where it's just like strictly about the work.
I'm in Atlanta for one reason only, to shoot Vampire Diaries.
The crew puts so much work and so many hours into it, and we all really care.
I think it's been absolutely a positive thing. I think it's really put everybody in the right frame of mind.
Now I'm just really mellow, you know? I'm living in the South, I'm chilling, you know? It's fun, I've got my cast, we're like BFFs, like, I'm good.
And I think whether or not we were shooting in Atlanta or anywhere else, there's just such a great group of people that I really enjoy being around.
So many of our favorite moments are behind the scenes, you know, and we're just getting along and hanging out.
I spend every waking moment with Ian and Paul, whether it be on set, whether it be on weekends when we travel for press. We're all together all the time, and not just Ian and Paul, the whole cast, we're all really, really close and we all hang out.
The bond of this crew and this cast is very deep and it's very tight.
And it's so hard being around people you love and adore, and it's so hard working with the most amazing crew that I've ever worked with. Oh my God, what else can I complain about?
I've never worked with a crew that's phenomenal, ever. Ever, ever.
We're really lucky, because I don't think this happens very often. Night shooting is difficult, but necessary for a vampire show.
Of course, on a show with vampires, you're gonna end up with a lot of night shoots.
It's actually not nearly as bad as people think because fortunately we have these day rings.
We went and got the best crew and we promised them all no night work, maybe a couple of nights here and there. Cut to day 3, it's like 4 p.m. call time, we're working all night.
Luckily, Hotlanta, you know, normally it's pretty warm.
We usually start off the week at 6 in the morning and up till 6 p.m. And then as the days go on, we push the call a couple of hours, and by the end of the week, we'll start at 5 p.m. and finish at 6 in the morning on Saturday. It takes a toll on you, it's really exhausting.
By episode 3, the crew is making day rings to wear and saying, what happened to the freaking day rings that we were supposed to have?
I can't even imagine if we didn't have them and we only shot at night. That would actually be, wow, that would be intense. I would literally become a vampire, I think.
Paul actually has fangs. I have this theory that he's actually a vampire because if he smiles, he literally has fangs, and that's probably why he got the part. They wanted to save a couple bucks on visual effects.